one?
We're going to be talking about the almighty push-up. The push-up that we do all the time. We just want to make sure that our campers are doing it correctly. So when we talk about a push-up, there are a lot of muscles into play because we're literally pushing our entire body weight against gravity. So we're not only using the pecs, which is the front of the body, and the shoulders and the abs, but the back, the upper back, the mid back, the low back, the glutes, the hamstrings, everything is coming into play here. So it is a total body exercise, and we need to make sure when we explain that to our campers, they realize it's total body exercise. So let's go ahead and start with our hand position. Hand position should be pretty close to underneath the shoulder blades. There are variations in hand position, but we'll go ahead and start with this one just to get us going. So he's got his elbows back, his hands are right underneath his shoulder blades, and he's ready to go. So he can push straight up, and he can lower straight down. Pushing straight up and lowering straight down. Go ahead and hold it down for me for a second, Tim. When he does this, he wants to make sure that his arms are staying nice and tight to his body so that we're working a little bit of tricep as we go up and down. So we don't want him to wing too much. We want to have him keep squeezing everything in towards the center line of his body. So that go ahead and push up. When he comes down, his inner arm sort of brushes against his t-shirt, and then he presses back up, and he presses back down against the t-shirt. Excellent. You can rest for a second. Now let's talk about the mid part of the body. Let's talk about the anterior part, so the front part of the body. The abdominals have to stay in. So it's very, very important when you're in that up position that the abdominals are pulling up and away from the t-shirt. If you're sticking out your abs and you're sort of just pooching out your belly, then what's going to happen is you're going to sway the lower back, and you're going to put a lot of undue pressure on the lower back, and then the glutes are not going to be engaged. So what's going to happen is you're going to find that you're going to have a lot of pressure points on the shoulders instead of using the full body, because you really need the recruitment of all of the muscles in the body to make this actually happen the way it's supposed to happen. So let's pull him up into an up position. This is an isometric where we just have him hold. I want him to pull his abs as far away from my hand or his t-shirt as he possibly can without crowning the back. So his back is in a nice position here. He's not squeezing too hard, but he's got a nice position in the back. Because he's pulling his abs in, he has a pretty neutral spine right here. There's not a big dip, and he's able to engage the glutes as much as possible. Go ahead and bring it down. So when he does this position, it's not only about what's happening in the shoulder blades, the upper back, and the front of the body, but he also has to keep thinking about what's happening in this low back part of the body and the glutes. So when he comes up in this push-up position, this is a great modification for someone that's having trouble doing range of motion, who may have an injury in the shoulder or the wrist. So having them just hold this push-up plank is great. We're going to talk about another modification, which would be having him put his knees down on the ground. So we call this an assisted or facilitated push-up. So when he does this, he's still going to want to keep the back in line, the body in alignment, the abs and the glutes engaged. And when he does the range of motion, he's going all the way down and squeezing all the way up, pulling abs in, keeping the butt in line with the spine as much as possible, keeping the curve of the lower back as neutral spine as he possibly can, keeping those arms in and tight. Excellent. So you can go ahead and rest for a second. So if you're having trouble with the low back, if you're having trouble with the shoulder, simple and easy modifications can be just holding the push-up plank, which would be just like this, or would be dropping to the knees and keeping the range of motion if you can do that and it feels okay to you. So another modification would be to go to a plank position. So instead of being up on your wrists, you're just doing a plank position. Again, hovering over if you would have a wrist injury or something that would inhibit you from having that full range of motion, you can hold this plank position. Go ahead and rest for a second. As an instructor, you're looking for form cues for a couple different things. So the top 3 form cues would be hand position. So we want him to have his hands close to the body. We want to make sure one of the cues would be to have your inner arm brush past your shirt. other cue would be pulling the abs away from the t-shirt and really pulling in the core part of the body, and the last would be squeezing the glutes. So if we have him go up and take a full range of motion, we want him to get as close to the ground as possible. So it's almost like we want him to get a fist distance, down and up. That would be a full range of motion on that push-up. But as you learn to get better at push-ups, your range of motion can increase. So you may not get all the way down in the beginning, but you may work up and build up to being able to put your chest all the way down on the ground. So taking the time to making sure that you're doing it properly is more important. With hand positions, you can also tell your campers they can take them out wider. If they take it out wider, they're going to be using a little bit more back here than anything else. You'll see that he contracts more in the back than he is using triceps and chest. So just realize that wherever you put your hands is going to modify the exercise for your campers. So you want to try to get them really core strength, get them as strong as they can through the core. So by doing that, you're going to keep the arms in as close to the body as possible. And then as they get stronger in the core, you're going to have them move their hands out wider. It is much more difficult to do it with your hands in close. So do keep that in mind, and modifying it for your camper will help them to build the core and upper body strength. So eventually they're able to do it on their toes without much modification. As far as push-ups are concerned, you can do these in your workout sporadically. You just want to make sure you're not doing them in your warm-up, typically because the small muscles of the upper body are not ready in a warm-up to perform push-ups. The other reason would be you do not want to take someone from a high intensity or a high impact movement like a jumping jack and have them go all the way down to the ground very quickly. Big changes in heart rate can cause people to feel dizzy or faint. So you always want to make sure you choose strategically, that you bring the heart rate down slightly, maybe by doing a few sets of squats before you go down into that push-up. You can use these in the cool down and intersperse them through your abdominal exercises, or you can do them really wherever the workout calls for them. But just make sure that heart rate's come down before you take them down to the ground. And that's the push-up.